It's very humbling to stand in front of amazing people like you. My goal today is very simple. If I can just inspire just one person in this auditorium not to give up on their dream, my mission would be complete. Without further ado, I'm a commercial pilot, and I have been in the aviation industry for 6 years, and 6 solid years. And 5 of those years have been in conservation. So I was a conservation pilot for 5 years, and I joined Procharter recently this year. And it's a sister company to ProFlight, and we do charter and airline operations. However, conservation flying has been the foundation of my career. So my career actually started in 2003. That was quite a while back. I was 4 years old. And I had the chance to attend a school field trip at the airport, Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. So we got to the airport, we were shown around the terminal, and we got the chance to go through security, and we went on to the apron. So the apron is basically where the aircrafts usually park as you guys go to board. So this lovely lady walked us through, and we got inside the aircraft. It was stationary, and we interacted with the pilots, spoke with the flight attendants, and the pilots were explaining so many things. It was kind of gibberish at the time, but I was so captivated, And I asked myself, how does this huge metallic thing get airborne? What kind of magic fuel, makes this thing go up? So that was my turning point, and I knew that being a pilot was exactly what I wanted to do. So I held on to the vision from the age of 4, and I kept it all the way till I got into high school. I was at David Kaunda for my high school, that's 10, 11, and 12. And whilst I was there, as you mature, you begin to understand just how tough it is to get into certain careers. So after my research, I knew getting into aviation was extremely expensive. So what I did, it was a bit discouraging. So what I did was, whilst in high school, I identified pilots that were in the same position as I was, but they overcame their struggles and are now at the pinnacle of aviation. So I found about 4 or 5 mentors, and they kept on mentoring me. They gave me guidance, they gave me wisdom, and that kept me focused in high school. And after I was done with my high school, I did pretty well for my grade 12, and I got a scholarship to do civil engineering at CBU. It was quite a decent opportunity, So I remember having this conversation with my family and, breaking the news, telling them, I'm not going to take this. I want to be a pilot. And, in a Zambian setup, having a scholarship like that is like gold, So that was one of the toughest conversations that I had to have with my parents, and I told them, look guys, I want to be a pilot. And after some serious convincing, my parents allowed me to pursue my career. And just to give some context, it wasn't really easy because I come from a pretty, humble background, I would say. My dad is a school teacher professionally, and my mom, she works for ShopRite. So it's a very average Zambian home, nothing special. So after my high school, I decided to get a job. I got a job as a teacher. I was fresh out of high school. So I started teaching at a tuition center for a couple of months to about a year. And I saved up some money. And with the support that I got from my parents, I took a chance to go down to South Africa. I enrolled into a flight school and I started my training. But needless to say, I underestimated how expensive aviation is. Because 1 week into school, I ran completely broke. Like no money, all my funds, were depleted, and I couldn't continue my training. So it was very, very devastating for me, and I was very depressed. I started getting doubts, the naysayers, the negative thoughts, the regrets that I should have maybe taken the chance at CBU. But I had to hold on to my vision and hold on to my dream. So I had a conversation with myself and I said, look, it's a bit tough at the moment, but I have 2 hands, I've got 2 legs, I speak fairly well, I can make a plan. So whilst in South Africa, one fateful day, I went to the airport and I knocked on every door I could find at the airport. And I was very persistent. And I kept on pitching an idea to get sponsorship from anyone that was willing to help me. And one thing I emphasized, I always told these guys, saying, I'm not asking for free help. I don't believe in free help. So I'm willing to do whatever it takes to become a pilot. So after about 3 weeks of being persistent and pushing, I met a man that saw my potential, and he gave me a job working for him. I worked for him doing all kinds of things. I used to clean airplanes. I would refuel aircraft. It was tough. I did office work. I would clean the office as well, make calls, you name it. I was basically a chola boy, so it was tough. After a couple of months, I worked with him, and with the support from my family, I was able to get my private pilot license, which is, for lack of a better term, it's equivalent to like a diploma. So it's just the foundation. I got the license and I came back to Zambia. I felt very achieved. I was excited. I was happy. But I still needed to get a commercial license. So I told myself, I'm in Zambia now. If I could make a plan in South Africa to get a job in a foreign land to pay for my training, Zambia is home. I'll make a plan again. I used the same strategy. I went to the airport at KK. I got my best suit, my envelopes, CVs, and everything, and I knocked on every airline at the airport. It was quite interesting because it actually was harder getting a job here than it was back in South Africa for some reason. So it took me 5 months of being rejected by all the airlines that I went to. So I kept on going back for 5 solid months. Until one fateful day, I got the chance to meet a man, Mr. Robert Stacy. And my aviation story is incomplete without mentioning this man. I really believe he was God sent for me. So I met Mr. Stacy, and he gave me an opportunity similar to what I had in South Africa. And just for some context, so Mr. Stacy is the director of Nina Juliet, who are part of the sponsors of this amazing program. So cutting the long story short, I worked for Mr. Stacy for a couple of years, doing the same job, cleaning planes, refueling, and I would love to believe that, I got his attention and he saw my potential. He decided to invest in me, and I eventually got sponsored to do my commercial license after working for about 3 to 4 years with Mr. Stacy. It was quite a huge achievement for me, and I came back and I was employed as a conservation pilot professionally to work for all the different organizations. And that was quite a milestone for me that, even till now I look back and it's one of my biggest achievements. So I came back and I was employed as a conservation pilot, and it was the most amazing journey I undertook. It gave me the privilege of flying to the most amazing resorts all over Zambia. Like, Zambia is such a beautiful place, guys. It's amazing. And being able to view nature, all the rivers and all our natural resources from the sky, it gave me a huge sense of pride, and I felt very privileged to do so. I got to work with amazing people, and I did a lot of things flying for conservation. Part of the jobs I was doing as a pilot in conservation was aerial surveys. I did some anti-poaching flights. I did a couple of game counting, animal tracking. There was a huge number of activities that I did. And just to give you guys a bit of a descriptive view of just how amazing this job is, I remember one afternoon, we had a survey flight. I was with a team from ZCP, Zambia Carnival Project, and we took off out of a small little airstrip. It's called Kakumbi. It's in Mfue. So we took off and we were doing some animal tracking. We're tracking a pack of wild dogs. And this was one of the coolest things that I've ever done. We're flying low over the Luangwa River, just following the meandering of the river. And it got to a point where we saw these wild dogs, and they were actually in the process of hunting a puku. And so puku is like an antelope, for those that might not know. It's in that WhatsApp group, you know. So these dogs, we saw this and we observed all of this from the sky. And it was one of the most amazing experiences I've had. So that is just one of the hundreds of memories that I have flying for conservation. And that sparked my love and appreciation for Zambia. And I'm always an activist for conservation because I know how priceless and amazing our natural resources are. So in a nutshell, I would just love to encourage someone today to hold on to their dream. From my story, you can tell how being persistent and not giving up can open doors for you. So I never waited for doors to open. I literally just broke through and just forced things until I got my opportunity. So just, if you have a dream, whether you want to be a pilot, a lawyer, or whatever it is, go for it. Hold on to your dream. It is very much valid. Thank you so much.